Princess Leonor's cruise on Prince Christian's royal love story unveiled. A future queen, a rising prince, two kingdoms watching, but nobody expected this. A crush, hidden in plain sight. Whispers, glances, and one moment that changed everything. Because what everyone thought they knew was wrong. And what really happened is far more intimate than anyone imagined. It begins quietly, long before the cameras caught the first glance, before the commentators began to speculate, before the world turned their curiosity toward the two heirs who had grown up under entirely different skies. Princess Leonor of Spain, disciplined, dutiful, and shaped by centuries of royal expectation. Prince Christian of Denmark, reserved, steady, and equally aware that his entire life had been spent preparing for a crown he had not yet touched. They had met formally only a handful of times as children, public events, diplomatic gatherings, stiff smiles arranged by protocol. Nothing remarkable, nothing memorable. Or so everyone thought. But as Leonor grew older, something shifted. Her role became heavier, sharper, more visible. And with that visibility came loneliness, a kind only a few people on earth could understand. And Prince Christian, quiet, introspective, found himself walking a similar path. Two future monarchs in different corners of Europe, both preparing for lives that demanded strength and sacrifice. The first curiosity loop begins here. Why him? Why her? Why now? Because the story did not begin with romance. It began with recognition. Leonor once confided to a close aide that she admired how Christian carried himself. Not flamboyant, not arrogant, but steady. And for a young woman raised in an environment where every word, every gesture, every breath mattered, steadiness was not just attractive, it was rare. This was long before the world noticed. Before that day, the day everything shifted. It happened during the Joint European Youth Summit, an event meant to highlight cooperation, education, and unity across the continent. The heirs were scheduled to attend. Officially, they were to greet students, meet delegates, smile for the cameras, deliver carefully crafted speeches. Routine, predictable, unremarkable. But when Leonor walked into the hall, something changed in the air, and Christian noticed it instantly. She carried herself with a confidence she did not have years before. She was taller, more centered. Her presence was unmistakably royal, but also unguarded in a way that surprised even those closest to her. Christian, across the room, paused. Cameras captured the moment, not obviously, not dramatically, but just subtly enough for royal watchers to later rewind, freeze, and analyze endlessly. And that tiny moment became the foundation of the rumor that would grow into a global obsession. The next curiosity loop tightens. Was it just admiration, a diplomatic courtesy, or something deeper? Eyewitnesses later said that during the private luncheon, Leonor, who was known for her discipline, slipped. Not physically, emotionally. She laughed. Not a polite, royal laugh. A real one. Bright, sudden, unfiltered. And Christian looked at her the way someone looks at sunlight after a long winter. But still, this is not yet the love story people imagine. Because at this point, Leonor's feelings were silent. Hidden, guarded. A crush kept in the corners of her heart, tucked beneath responsibility and duty. And this is where the family tension begins to weave into the narrative. Queen Letizia noticed almost immediately. A mother senses when her daughter's world begins to tilt, especially a daughter living under the glare of centuries of history. King Felipe observed as well, but with the caution of a man who knows how fragile royal dynamics can be. Spain and Denmark share strong ties, yes, but a romance between heirs. That is a political earthquake. Christian's parents, Crown Prince Frederick and Crown Princess Mary, noticed too. They watched the way their son straightened when Leonor spoke, the way he listened with a focus far deeper than simple diplomacy. They exchanged glances that said more than words ever could. And so a new question emerges. Would their families support such a bond? Or fear it? Because two future monarchs forming a union is not a simple romance, it is geopolitics wrapped in emotion. It is duty merging with desire. It is centuries of expectation clashing with the modern world, where hearts still insist on choosing for themselves. But back to the story. Back to the moment where curiosity quietly became affection. One evening, near the end of the summit, a small reception was held, informal, relaxed, meant only for the young delegations. No heavy protocol, no photographers inside the private hall, no stiff ceremonial structure. Leonor entered wearing a simple outfit, nothing extravagant, nothing intended to capture attention. Yet Christian saw her instantly. And this time, he approached her. Witnesses, though sworn to silence, described the interaction as unusually natural. Two young heirs, finally speaking without scripts, without advisors whispering protocol, without cameras dictating their next movement. They began with light conversation, languages, studies, their shared pressures, their future responsibilities. But then, slowly, the conversation deepened. They spoke of loneliness, of expectations, of the struggle to balance identity with destiny. And for the first time, Leonor felt understood by someone who truly lived her reality. This is where the crush became real, gentle, fragile, unspoken, but unmistakable. And Christian. He kept looking at her as though she were something rare, precious, a kindred soul he hadn't expected to find. But of course, royal life is not a fairy tale. What happened next introduces the next curiosity loop. Because after that evening, something unusual occurred. Their teams noticed the shift. Advisors whispered. Assistants exchanged looks. Protocol chiefs made notes. And suddenly, schedules that once aligned so easily became more difficult to coordinate. Was it deliberate? Was someone preventing further interaction? Or merely coincidence? The truth lies somewhere in between. Royal households move cautiously. They understand the power of rumor, the threat of misunderstanding, the risk of premature speculation. So they paused. They watched. They waited. And Leonor, caught between duty and desire, found herself more conflicted than ever before. She began following Christian's initiatives more closely, not publicly, but privately. Updates on his education, news about his responsibilities, even casual reports from European councils where his name was mentioned. Her aides noticed. They never confronted her, Leonor as future queen, after all, but they understood. Love, even forbidden love, leaves traces. And Christian, too, began asking quiet questions. How was Leonor adjusting to the military academies? How was her schedule evolving? Would she attend the next European royal gathering? His staff understood the implication. They responded cautiously. They knew this was delicate ground. The next loop intensifies. Would they meet again? Or would the story end here, an almost romance lost to royal duty? But fate, for a moment, sided with the heart. Several months later, at a private royal event, they crossed paths once more. Not in front of cameras. Not under international scrutiny, but quietly, unexpectedly, naturally. And this time, Leonor couldn't hide the way her face lit up when she saw him. Christian couldn't hide the way he moved toward her with ease, with warmth, with something painfully close to longing. They spoke again, longer this time. More comfortable, more open, and the chemistry, subtle but undeniable, deepened. After that night, Christian's mother, Crown Princess Mary, spoke to him gently. She wasn't warning him. She wasn't discouraging him. She was reminding him. You are a future king, she said. And she is a future queen. These things are never simple. But the truth, the secret truth, is that Mary understood. She had once been the outsider, the love match that changed the monarchy. She knew that sometimes the heart chooses, and the world follows. Leonor had her own conversation with Queen Letizia. More cautious, more protective, but filled with maternal intuition. Letizia knew that Leonor had endured immense pressure, scrutiny, expectations that no teenager should ever shoulder alone. And Christian, steady, gentle Christian, brought a softness into her daughter's eyes that Letizia had not seen in years. The families were not opposed. But they were careful, very careful, because here lies the greatest loop of all. If two future monarchs fall in love, what happens to their kingdoms? To alliances? To centuries of tradition? Who moves where? Who sacrifices what? Does Christian become the consort of Spain? Does Leonor move to Denmark? Do the two crowns remain separate, or someday unite? Questions too powerful for tabloids. Too dangerous for speculation. Too monumental for teenagers to answer. And so, for now, the story rests in the realm of quiet truth, felt deeply, spoken rarely, revealed only in glances and fleeting moments that escape the cameras but not the heart. The crush is real, the connection undeniable, the future uncertain. But one thing is clear. This is not a rumor crafted by tabloids. Not a fantasy built by royal watchers. Not a fan-made fairy tale. This is something far more human. Two young heirs discovering, slowly, carefully, tenderly, that even in a world of crowns and protocol, the heart still dares to choose. And the world, Spain, Denmark, Europe, waits breathlessly for what happens next. Because when a future queen feels something real, and a future king feels it too, history begins to tremble, and love, quiet, royal, forbidden, hopeful, starts to take shape.